Here we are.
Yay.
So, hello Tina, welcome to Montreal, if I may say so. Just to put a context, you were teaching a class this week every morning via Zoom. And as it is the custom with all the teachers that we invite at CEPRIEST, we do an interview with them at the end of the week. So since we are not at the same place at the moment, we decided to go online. So here we are.
Yeah.
The first questions are easy. I would like to know where you're from and where you live now.
It's not an easy question.
I know. I assumed it was. Sorry.
Well, so I am from Armenia originally. I was born in Slovakia, and so I don't really feel like I am from Armenia in the sense of where I lived. I didn't live there ever. It's just genetically I'm from there. And I grew up in Moscow and I grew up in Prague. So I guess I'm from Moscow, Prague, and Armenia. And at the moment, I'm in a countryside in UK, not far from Oxford.
Good. and where is home for you at the moment? Like normally?
It's yeah. I guess that's why I find it's quite a complicated question for me personally, because I think I'm still in the process of searching for it. I'm trying to still identify what that place is going to be for me, because I do feel a strong need to base myself and settle somehow. But I feel like a big byproduct of my job, especially for past 4 years, was traveling, and it's wonderful. It has its beautiful advantages, but I've honestly been on a run for 4 years with my suitcase, so I really wasn't based anywhere, didn't have keys from any apartment. And that this lockdown forced me to pick a place for this time, which was quite refreshing in a way as well. So yeah, I think once this is going to be over, I think I'm going to try to invest more time into actually basing and finding home.
Cool. How did you become a dancer?
Well, so I come from an Armenian culture. In Armenian culture, things are quite simple. As a boy, a majority of boys will probably go maybe dancing a little bit, folklore dances, but they will do chess, they will play chess. And as a girl, you will be dancing. You will learn dancing. So me as a 60-year-old, I lived in Moscow at that time, but I was signed up to a folklore group. So I was doing some Russian Armenian folklore. And then from then on, I kind of kept on dancing. I stopped several times in my teenage years. I was quite an impatient child, in a sense of not really wanting to involve myself for too long in anything. And having quite liberal parents, they never forced me to sustain, do what I didn't feel like doing. But then at some point it became, a choice of mine. Around 15, I moved to Prague. I went to a conservatory there, and I made a decision that it's going to be my profession.
So was your background more, like after you did the folkloric dance, was your background more like classical or?
I think I didn't have a classical background. I went to a street dance from folklore. I went to different Latin American dances. I went to not dancing at all and playing tennis and doing some sports. So yeah, as I said, I was quite indecisive, and only around 15, I signed up for the school. I did audition, and that was a very, quite contemporary school with some ballet, but still ballet for contemporary dancers. So I don't really have a ballet background in that sense, even though I've done it for over 8 years, but always as a part of training. And then I went to Brussels and I studied in parts, and there was another kind of level of, again, committing to contemporary, field.
And what happened after school? Did you like the switch from being a student to being a professional dancer?
So as I graduated, I imagine like most of the people who don't immediately get into a company, I felt a little lost. And I kept on training. So I finished parts, and I already had 5 years of conservatory, and I had 3 years of parts, which is a very prestigious school. And so I had quite a good education behind me. but I still felt very hungry to study. I felt like being an institution, you get teachers that are chosen for you because you give, you somehow commit to that institution and they choose teachers for you. And suddenly I felt like, wow, I can actually choose my own teachers. So I went to festivals and I kept on training with people, and I picked few and I committed to those teachers for longer. So I went to more of their workshops and I started traveling to study with them. And that was a big part of my kind of what I was involved with. And as soon as I graduated, I got jobs in 2 companies, and one of them I was as an actress. So my first really job after graduation was an acting job, which was at that time very frustrating because I wanted to dance. Now I would love to have it, but at that time, so that was quite, yeah.
Cool. And how did you start teaching?
I have been assisting teachers for really, as much as I remember, already back in Prague, I was 17 or so. I was already assisting some teachers. I was a very nerdy student, and I think teachers perhaps liked it, so they wanted to have a nerdy student with them wherever they went. So I would assist them, and that's a very interesting area, because you're not a student, meaning you're not just following, but you're not a teacher, so you're not sharing the information. You're somewhere in between. You have to be super present. You have to really know the material and somehow the philosophy of the person who's sharing. But at the same time, you have to really hold space and not to be too engaged. It's a very interesting area. And I've been really assisting quite a few people also. So, Joe, I was assisting Janet Panetta, and then Tom, Mislav English, and others as well, Milan Tomasic. And so that was something really exciting. And as I was assisting, I was kind of as a sponge taking that, I guess that methodology of understanding what would I do, what wouldn't I do. And I remember being in Berlin one summer and complaining to my fellow colleagues, male colleagues, saying, I don't feel like there is enough representation. For me, I don't feel like I can relate to female teachers. I went and I spent over a month in a festival there, and all the teachers that I really liked, and I realized through my career as well, were male teachers. And not to make it in any way gender, but it's just I liked what they were teaching. I liked how their sense of humor they had, how they held space for people, their experience, even their charisma somehow. And I didn't feel I couldn't relate to female teachers, and I would sign up to female teachers just to tick a box for myself that I'm supporting them, but I didn't do it from the sense of need. I didn't need that at all. I didn't feel like I can learn something from them, unfortunately. And I'm sure I'm mistaken, and there's many fantastic teachers at the moment, and I love them and support them and admire them. But at that time, I didn't feel that. And so, my fellow colleagues just said, well, maybe you should, fill that space. And at that time, I realized that it's really not the space for me, not time for me to complain, and I'll just try. And I went to Prague, which was my hometown, and with my friend, we organized the workshop in a few weeks, and it was full immediately. I had around 30 people. It was completely sold out. And since then it was like this. I was just very lucky. I don't know why, but I was somehow very lucky. And since then I just had people in the workshops, and I was privileged to share my practice. Yeah.
Well, I had the privilege of watching your class, and I can tell you that I understand why people would want to take your class and follow you. That's for sure. You mentioned philosophy. What is your teacher's philosophy? Can you tell us about that?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, I think the most important thing is whatever I'm sharing is not a based practice. It's not a style, even though I think it's very relevant for people, even for actors, to do a voice work, to have something that is a clear based practice, or for dancers to have certain techniques that they learn. But what I'm sharing is not a technique. It's really a very open research, and it has a very plastic borders. And I truly try to make sure that it has a lot of embodied practice. It has a physical practice, but it also has some of a, kind of academic practice. It has also, I can share information that also can be useful for people to chew on when the class is over, that they can then research and they can read. And I think it's really important to put those two words together, because I think I really want to have this holistic person, human mover. And I think for that, we also need an academic knowledge to a certain level, at least. And I think that's important. And the philosophy, I'm inspired by I'm very inspired by Eastern philosophy. I feel like I'm trying to bring a lot of simplicity into my work. I try to bring inclusivity into my work, and to make sure that it's very inclusive. And there's more. I mean, there's so many things. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to experience it as well. So, yeah. At the end of like right now, you're giving a 4 days workshop with us. At the end of a series of workshop like that, what would be the thing that you would like the students to keep from you from that week?
I think the practice, what it's based on, that there is never, unfortunately or fortunately, a point of arrival. So we're not really seeking to arrive into a place where, oh, wow, now I have it. Yeah, it's the same with the balance. It's like, now I have it. As soon as you think that you have a balance, it's just, and I have this in my life. As soon as I feel like, wow, now I have it. My personal life, my professional life, everything is great. And then it gets crashing down at your head. And I think this moment of arrival, I try to kind of soften it, because we all have expectations. So it's not about breaking those expectations, but softening that expectations that we have from ourselves. And I think what I would like to have, what I try to do in the class, is that people, as soon as they arrive somewhere, however discouraging it is, we immediately bring more complexity, we immediately make it more difficult, immediately bring new tools to play with, so they never actually feel like they arrive, which can be frustrating. But I think that's the training space, because that's not the job, it's not the work where you need to excel somehow. Or even me as a person who's sharing, somehow I can't fail that much because I still need to deliver the information. But for the students, I think I really try to create an environment where they can fail and feel like they can keep on evolving and never arrive. So I would be happy if they finish after 4 days and then say, okay, that was just another day of training. And then the day after, they just go and they have a bit more tools in their pocket, in their backpack, and they just keep on training. I guess that's for me the thing, that they don't feel like they arrived after 4 days. They just feel like it was another milestone for them.
Yeah. You're teaching around the world also, you mentioned it, you travel a lot. Do you get to observe any differences from where you were teaching, in the way that the material is received, or the communication with the dancers? Do you notice any differences depending on where you are, or is it a common language for everyone?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there is difference. I think, sometimes you can see it in the room as well, depending on a culture. You also see different, sometimes it's very young people in a certain culture, or there is really equally male and female. Sometimes there's older people also not afraid to go and explore. So I think that also depends on a culture and what people are conditioned with through the years, of like how they perceive, the fears and things around movement. I think it's important as a person who comes sharing their practice to adapt to the culture. I really don't try to come with my point of view and just try to say you adapt or leave. This is really far from my approach. So I must say that I really try to adapt to whatever the group is. And so I had this wonderful incident. I went to teach in Bali, and there was this girl, and I was trying to relax her jaw, and absolutely with no filter, I just put my thumbs inside the mouth and I kind of like gave her a little shake. And then, funny enough, there were some Balinese people, but there were also American, Chicago, there were people from Australia. It was a very international group. And then suddenly one male, he said, oh, I would like you to also work on me. And so I went to him. I didn't plan to put my thumbs inside his mouth, but I just wanted to he had a beard, so I wanted to just kind of relax it. But he thought I might do the same as to the girl, and he was like, no, I don't, please don't do that. And I realized suddenly, of course, there is still the border. And in that moment, I think it's your responsibility to immediately understand what's going on and to apologize. and to say, oh, I actually didn't mean, I wouldn't do that anyways, but I hear you, and let's just find a more gentle way. And I think that's the most important, that you have to go into space and commit to listening to whoever is in there, instead of trying to enforce whatever you think and your philosophy and your beliefs and things like this.
Did you notice any differences, because you've been teaching for a while now, difference when you were a student and the students from now, in the way they see dance or in the way they work? Or
oh yeah. Oh, I think it's crazy. I would love to have the teachers that are there now and the information that's there. Even there is so many, even if I think about, Tomislav and I, we tried to share some principles from neuroscience, my limited knowledge of it, but still I think it's very useful to share it. And where at the level where the science is, the understanding of neuroscience there is now, it wasn't like this even 10 years ago. So I think with all the technology and all the tools and things that we have at our disposal, and even, there are so many breathing techniques, the traveling is easier, the things are not expensive. I think with all the Instagram and things, people are so more, they maybe have never ever met the teacher, they've never spoken to the teacher, but they know everything about it. How did they know about it? I don't know, but they somehow found a way to, and I think that's something else. I think that level of, broad knowledge, I think that wasn't there when I was a student.
Great. We usually play a little game at the end of our interviews. So this is where we are now.
Love games.
It's nothing dangerous. So it's, again, questions, but the game is to try to answer as quickly as you can without thinking too much about it. So there's no wrong answer. It's just fun. So here we go. What other profession would you have liked to attempt?
Horse rider.
Something you always wanted to do, but you never did.
Make a massive, huge sculpture out of stone.
Creation or presentation?
Creation.
One word to describe yourself.
Thoughtful.
What is your addiction?
Sugar.
If you could meet yourself from, let's say, 15 years ago, what would you say to yourself?
Be patient and invest all the time you have into the people, into your loved ones.
What is your favorite curse word in any language?
Doprdele.
I won't ask you what it means, but a show that made an impact on you.
There is Marlene Monteiro Freitas. She's a Portuguese, fantastic choreographer, graduated from Parts as well. And I think her work is very, very unique and very specific and I think very intelligent with its timing, everything. And I'm a big fan.
If you could change one thing, what would it be?
In the world?
Sure.
Oh, wow. I would slow down the climate change.
Okay, the next one is a tough one. Would you prefer losing all your memories or never being able to create new ones?
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't mind losing them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what is your state of mind at the moment? How do you feel?
I feel quite, I feel trapped, but excited.
Great.
I think it's important to say that we are still in a global pandemic, for people that will see this in 20 years if they do. So, the trapped comes from being physically, trapped in the house. And
it's true. Well, thank you so much. We're going to sign off on that. Stay online. We can talk about say
Yeah.
goodbye properly together. But thank you for that interview.
Thank you as well.
And hopefully the next time we see each other, you'll be in Montreal. That would be amazing. And thank you for this week of class.
Yes, thank you so much.